Food and Beverage Magazine Live, bringing food and beverage to life. With your hosts, James Beard Award winner Jennifer English and Food and Beverage Magazine publisher Michael Politz. Featuring leaders in the hospitality, branded food and beverage, and CPG industries, many of whom are Jennifer and Michael's friends in the business. For an informal and informative conversation where friends in the business share the latest intel, ideas, and best practices. Live, juicy inside scoop from the tastemakers, newsmakers, bread bakers, drink shakers, spoon lickers, clam diggers, farms, foodies, and friends of the food and beverage magazine world. Here are your hosts, Jennifer English and Michael Politz.
I love that. Flash that again. This is word of mouth time, everybody. Hi, I'm Jennifer English. I'm the editor-at-large of Food and Beverage Magazine, and I love coming and sharing things that we discover from companies that are very passionate about what they do. And when they send it to us and share their passion and their story, this opportunity on Food and Beverage Magazine Live becomes our chance to spread the word. Word of mouth, the idea that I find something that I can share with you, that I'm excited to share with you. Well, that makes having me as your friend in the business part of the fun and part of the value of our relationship. I'm your friend in the business who gets to go out and find all the best new things and the most interesting ideas and the most irresistible brands and products. And so we were flashing a bag a little bit earlier. I've actually got a full bag, and you're going to know how impressive this is in a minute. This is a full bag of the Brewers baked pita chips. Now, why is it impressive that I have a full bag? Because these guys sent these to us, and I've had them for almost 2 weeks, and I've eaten almost everything else that they sent, and I had to stop and say, you need to leave something for when you have them on the show. So here we are, and I'm very proud to say that the honey graham cracker version and the Brewers baked pita chips version and the irresistible everything version are still here. So these are crackers and pita chips, and you may be wondering, well, why are they so irresistible? They're irresistible because the flavor is just incredible, but they're irresistible for another reason too. Did you know that every single year with the booming craft beer industry that we have here in the United States, there is a secret hiding in plain sight? And that is that there is almost 1 billion pounds of grain used in the process of brewing beer that goes wasted every single year. Grain that is nutritious, that has flavor and value. Somebody has figured out what to do with it. And not only come to the idea of creating a product from it, but they've come up with the idea of creating an irresistible product. It's the Brewers Crackers made with UpCycled Grains. Now, doesn't that make perfect sense? We've got breweries all over the country, micro beer operations, mom and pops. Craft beer is booming coast to coast. Look at what this genius is doing. I love this. And so we are really honored and proud to have the brothers behind Brewers UpCycled Grain crackers, pita chips, and cookies. And I think this is only the beginning, because what else can you make with this? Well, we're going to discover. Kyle Fiasconaro and his brother are here with us to introduce us to and tell us the story of how Brewers came to be. It's really a pleasure and an honor to have them here and to welcome them. Gentlemen, I know I'm gushing, but I can't imagine that I'm the only one. I'm sure this is a story you're getting used to hearing from people just like me who try your products. Welcome, thank you, and congratulations.
Thanks, Jen. Thanks for having us.
So which one of you is the baker?
That would be me. Yep.
And then the business genius behind the rest of this is your brother, Matt?
That would be me also.
Oh, okay.
Get out of here. Yes, I'm a business teacher at a high school on Long Island and have my MBA. So I use that background to help Kyle, with the business. But Kyle's the brainchild, behind the idea. And yeah, I don't take any credit from him. I'm just helping him.
Talk a little bit about how you had this aha moment. Were you baking? Were you in the snack food industry? Were you a disruptor in another industry looking for something else to do after you sold out? I'm trying to imagine the whole scope of the story. I've been online. I've looked some things up, but a lot of this is just so compelling to me. Tell us about you guys and tell us about Brewers and how it was born.
Yeah, I used to work on Wall Street. I'm just kidding. Do not work on Wall Street. Often
There's so many stories that start like that, though, right?
That's not us. Trust me.
No, but I think, Kyle, I'll just hop in before you had the idea, the aha moment. I think where we come from, our grandparents, both sets of grandparents, were very sustainable growing up. I'm talking like our Christmas presents used to come wrapped in like the newspapers that were used from like that day, the cartoons. And then my other, set of grandparents, they had the largest garden that we had ever seen in their backyard, and would compost regularly, and nothing would really go wasted. They would keep their green tomatoes in the basement all winter until they would ripen. So deep down, I think there's always been like this piece of sustainability and appreciation for sustainability that like we really didn't know existed so much until Kyle came up with the idea for Brewers Crackers. We're like, wow, like maybe this isn't such a coincidence. Maybe it was kind of ingrained in us. And our father and my mother, with their worth ethics growing up, really instilled like Kyle and I, like you could just give us a task and we're just going to work. And like, I don't need to eat. I'm just going to, if I'm having fun working, I'm just going to work and get it done. And Kyle's the same way when we put our minds, to something. And our father and our mothers, my dad used to own a bagel store growing up, and we spent tons of time in there. So the entrepreneurship spirit, the baking spirit, like it's all just been there underlying. And I think Kyle just, awoke the giant. So Kyle, there's your little intro. Kyle's also he's a trained chef. He went to the French Culinary Institute. He's not going to tell you all the good stuff, but he competed for the U.S. In the U.S. trials for the Bocuse d'Or. So he's worked some of the top restaurants in the country. He'll probably get into a little bit of that, but he doesn't like to tell you that part of it. But he's a really, really good chef, and that's kind of where you taste the quality of the ingredients from. Is from his background as a chef. And at a high level, at the highest level. And our other brother, Brian, he actually worked at the Gray in Savannah, Georgia, who won a James Beard Award, I think about 2 years ago. He was their second in command. So just cooking and the love for food is just in the family. So Kyle, there's your intro. Take it away.
All right, we can all go home now, right?
Yeah.
So the aha moment. So I was working as a cook in Brooklyn, New York. Would ride my bike to work every single day. Would ride my bike past a brewery. And one day riding my bike past that brewery, there was a dumpster outside the brewery. Like most breweries in New York City, there's not enough space, so they put a dumpster outside the brewery. And that's where they would put all their spent grain. And for those of you that don't know, spent grain is the grain that was previously boiled to extract the sugars so that the brewers can ferment that liquid and make beer. So this is all the barley and the wheat that's left over that the breweries no longer need. So they need to get it out as soon as possible. So usually they would put thousands of pounds of this stuff in a dumpster sitting outside the brewery. So when I'm riding my bike past the brewery and I see this mountain of grain on the sidewalk, I smell it. I'm like, wow, that stuff smells amazing. And right next to that brewery happened to be a super big Jewish bakery. And then between the smell of the spent grain and the smell of the bakery, and I'm going to work and I'm in New York City, and it's just something came together, and I said, I'm going to bring some of that grain into the restaurant and I'm going to bake something with it, because it seems like this is like a secret ingredient that people are just throwing away. So that led me to make a cracker. I'm not a baker by training. I'm a chef. I'm a cook. So for me, making a cracker was something that was super natural, pretty easy to do, not a lot of ingredients. So it was something that we used in restaurants that I worked at to share with the guests. A simple cracker made with spent grain from a local brewery.
Wow.
And I'd been making those for a few years. Every restaurant I would go to the local brewery, I'd ask for some grain, and I'd make a cracker. That was kind of the aha moment. Yeah.
There's so much differentiation between craft distilling from place to place. House style plays a huge role in the success of regional ventures. I had to ask the question, are we dealing with something that is consistent enough to be the basis for an extremely consistently well-made product and a consistently flavored product? Tell us how that, because it seems like it goes like this. Like it doesn't sync up, line up. Like, how did you make that work?
Right. So every brewery does use a lot of different ingredients. And there are a lot of different beers from every brewery. There's super dark beers, there's porters, there's stouts, and then there's IPAs, lagers, pilsners. We get around that, I think is your question, is by using a single brewery. And by using a single brewery, we can narrow down the single grain.
I'm going to mute my mic for a second while I open this bag. Go ahead.
Yes. So, that's what we do. Yeah, we deal with a single brewery. We get a single brewery's grain from the single beer, and then that's how we know what's going to be in the grain every single time.
I love that. And I love the idea that as you expand and as you grow, you're going to get the opportunity to use more and more of this from different sources. And I can imagine the flavors that you're going to get from region to region, from brewery to brewery. I mean, to me, that's exciting. As a culinarian, I'm sure that's exciting to you too.
Yeah, we're just scratching the surface. The grain we use now is very flavorful, but it's definitely in the middle of the spectrum as far as we can go super malty, super dark, super roasted. And then we can really start playing around with different things. But for now, this is the grain that helps us, do what we need to do consistently. Not too dark.
I want to hold up one of these pita chips. They have great crunch. You can see the whole grains.
Yeah, I love that you can see actually the spent grain. You can actually see it in there as well.
And when you say spent grain, it still has a lot of powerful nutrition. Talk about the fact this isn't just filler. This is really something impactfully nutritious and delicious.
Right. So when the brewery gets the grain, it has been sprouted and roasted. So breweries sprout the grain so that the sugars are accessible for when they boil the grain. And not everyone knows, but sprouting is great because it makes proteins, amino acids, enzymes more accessible and digestible, and makes the starches more digestible for us as humans. So it's a benefit that the breweries have, and then the benefits that I have for when I use the grain. And then they're roasted for flavor. So they're sprouted, then they're roasted. They go to the brewery. The brewery cracks the grain with a mill, exposing the germ and all the things that are inside the grain that the brewery wants, mostly being sugars. So after it gets boiled, those sugars are removed from the grain, and what's left is protein, there's fiber, essential amino acids, and those are all the things that we want in flour in itself that we don't necessarily always get.
I also want to point out that when you flavor them with rosemary, thyme, garlic, basil, sea salt, that what you're doing is you're creating really irresistible snacks that are useful in ways that most of us can't imagine. Would you talk a little bit about the category of snacks and when you started getting into this, what you discovered about how ripe this industry was for some reimagination and upcycling the way this is?
Yeah, I think when I always looked at the cracker section of the supermarket or specialty store, a lot of the focus, and I'd say most of the focus, is on packaging and how beautiful it looks on the shelf. And there's not a ton, I'm not saying there's none, but there's not a ton of thought that goes into the ingredients and the idea behind the product. So we kind of built the product inside out, being the cracker first, and then the ingredients in the cracker, and then the packaging is not an afterthought, but it's definitely, all right, we got a cracker, we got a product, we have an idea, let's make it as best we can, let's use the best ingredients we can, and then let's put it in the most complicated package we could think of.
Did that turn out to be a vexing problem, that challenging packaging? Because I think this is really lovely packaging because it shows exactly how brilliant these are. But let's talk about fighting food waste first.
Right.
We're waking up to the fact that in our country, we've got to do a lot to shift the way that we've been wasteful. Chefs are looking at ways that they can have close to or zero waste in their kitchens and their restaurants. Food operators recognize, even before the COVID, that we could ill afford to have our food costs soaring and our profit lines becoming non-existent and having there be so much waste. There had to have been a solution. I think a lot of people are going to look at what you've done and bringing consumer packaged goods brand and product to market by using all these things and using this kind of thinking as literally a playbook for the future. Would you talk a little bit about how, as a chef, a classically trained chef, that you were part of the awareness that we're all coming to about reducing food waste?
Right. Some statistics say that 40% of the food that's grown is wasted.
Whoa,
which
yeah.
is unreal to consider that some families don't have money, to buy food, and they can't feed their families, and 40% of that food's being thrown away. The interesting thing about the grain that we're using is that it wasn't even ever considered food waste.
Right.
It's not even in the food system technically. So for me to think that one of the most wasted foods in the world isn't even considered food, even completely blew my mind. So that's just, so if I can take a piece of that food and get it back into the food system, I think that's like another whole aspect that is just unbelievable to me.
And by the way, this isn't making a pie out of potato peels, right? Like right. This is something you really want to eat. Believe me when I tell you. Now, granted, I'm a cracker queen, and I've been a cracker queen my whole life. One of my favorite snacks of all time is still a simple, delightful cracker for my midnight snack. Okay, I love crackers, so I'm a little predisposed to being a fan of this product. But I'm also a tough judge. It had to deliver on every front, and everything about your product is so delicious. But that's because it comes from the hand and the intention of a chef. Would you talk a little bit about your culinary philosophy of flavor and how this serendipity of a moment aligns with your philosophy of flavor? Because it does. It has to. You can't make this if it didn't.
Why don't you mention like the Appalachian Trail? I think that.
Yeah, sure. So I went to culinary school. I went to the French Culinary Institute in Manhattan. I graduated from there. I got a job at a farm-to-table restaurant in New York, just outside New York City. There, I was taught a lot about food waste, a lot about how you have to use everything, lots of herbs in everything we made, lots of flavor. Nothing, if you're going to put rosemary in something, you better believe you better taste the rosemary, or you better get lost. So very powerful flavors, nothing really down the middle, always over the top has always been my philosophy on flavor. If it's an ingredient in the product, you better taste it. Otherwise, it not even be there. So that's my philosophy on flavor. But another aspect of our cooking journey is that when I left that restaurant, I hiked the Appalachian Trail. I don't know if you're familiar. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm originally from Boston. I'm applauding you right now.
Yeah, so foot trail that goes from northern Georgia to Maine. And along that journey, I found a field guide of foraging.
Oh, wow.
So foraging is just finding wild edibles that normally would just grow and live, and working them into cuisine. And I fell in love with that art in itself. And between the ability to just notice when things are not necessarily being wasted, but being grown in nature and bringing that into the kitchen, that was kind of a great kind of merged with my upcycling career. So finding things that wouldn't necessarily be used and then using them. So I feel like that kind of combined with my product, my lifestyle also. Yeah.
You know what's so cool about this? That you were foraging in Brooklyn, and that foraging on the side of a mountain along the Appalachian Trail might have given you something green, whereas foraging in Brooklyn resulted in you going by a brewery where you found naturally occurring city,
Right.
naturally occurring in a city sense, the product that was going to change your life.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the full line of products. How many products do you make, and where can people find them to purchase them?
Right now we make 4 products. We make the pita chips. We have sea salt and a rosemary.
And you can tell that the rosemary are irresistible because I do not have a full bag of rosemary to show you. I have an empty bag that I will show you.
And then we also make sea salt flatbreads and the everything flatbreads. And those are right now the only 4 products we make.
So to give you a little demonstration, there's like just enough left to do a tasting, and I can make it look better, but the reality is these chips and I have become extremely well acquainted.
And they're available in Whole Foods stores in 2 regions. So we're in the North Atlantic region of Whole Foods for the pita chips and the crackers. And the crackers are in both regions, the Northeast region of Whole Foods. So basically like your New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, and then and the North Atlantic region. So all the way to Maine. So they're from New Jersey all the way to Maine. Not yet. We're hoping to get there soon. The more people ask for our products and start asking their supermarket managers to carry our products, the more the distributors, will be inclined, to carry them. And it's just a matter of time. We're just slowly or quickly, geographically, kind of moving along. We're in cheese shops and specialty shops across the country because of some of our distribution that we have. So we're growing our reach. But why we came out with the pita chip is there's so much grain out there, and it's crazy that this could be a food product and it's not accessible for everyone. The cracker is kind of like your higher end type of product. It fit really well in your Whole Foods and your specialty markets, but we wanted to make something that was more accessible as well. And that's why we launched the pita chip. Everyone can relate to a pita chip. You don't need cheese and have a fancy party to have people over to have, the pita chip. I eat them in my car on my way home from work. It's just something that everyone can relate to. And that's one of our missions. Our goals is to get this product, a spent grain, turn it into something that everyone can use to help feed the hungry. We really want to turn this into a large mission, not just, a product in a fancy plastic container. So we want more.
I'm going to compliment you and say you're going to give Leslie Stowe a run for the money. You already are. This is sensational. I will be part of your ambassador fan base. I'm very, very privileged to get to discover this and join your word of mouth campaign. I love that you're from pita chip country. Okay. So pita chip is a fluency in the Northeast that I'm grateful for. And you've really outdone yourselves with this. But I have to ask the question. How are other people in your industry looking at this opportunity? How are chefs going to their local craft breweries and saying, hey, give me some of that. Let's see what I can do with it. Can you imagine the Pandora's box, the tsunami of inspiration that is going to flow from the act of you showing somebody what can be done with something as simple and humble as the spent grains from a booming industry called craft brewing.
Yeah, that's the idea that I think about all the time. I am a child of the 80s, and recycling was the big thing for us, was reduce, reuse, recycle. And just I can remember just people telling me recycle, what I'm doing. And it might not have been, the most impactful at the moment, me recycling cans to get remember Matthew, to get coins to go to the water park, recycling cans all summer. But it's those kind of things. Like when I show this product to a kid that's in first grade and his parents keep buying them over and over and over again, sounds a little crazy. It's not me that's going to make the difference. It's me showing this to thousands of kids that are in the first grade who end up growing up being a better version of me to do something even better and even better. Does that make sense?
I love that. Can
Okay.
you do pizza crust with this?
Yeah, you can do anything. The reason why we chose crackers is because, one, that's the first thing I made. I'm not a baker. A cracker's pretty easy to get out into the market. And it's a very easy way to get people to learn about it. Like Matthew said, we did chips because we want it to be accessible to everyone, even if you can't pay $7, $6 for these. You can pay $2, $3 for those. So the idea was to get them to everybody. I would love to do pizza dough, cookies, cereal, lots of different things that can get to lots of different people. But I think you need to win people over with something they already eat, something that's already in their cupboard. We can make like a protein puff squiggle cereal or something, but like it doesn't have the same effect on someone's like soul when they're eating a bag of chips. So
hey guys, we're getting a lot of comments from the audience, and I don't mean to ignore them. Thank you, everybody. But a couple of people are asking, do you ship to other states? Can you order these online?
Yeah, you can order at brewerscrackers.com, and we're also on Amazon. Just Google or search Brewers Pita Chips or Brewers Flatbreads, Brewers Crackers, and we're sold on Amazon. Yep.
Local cheese shop. If you just ask your local cheese shop if they could carry them, tell them about them. That's really the best way to spread it, and they can probably get it. We have some decent distribution to those markets. So if you just ask and then make some noise, we can deliver. But yeah, we can in the short term get them online, but monetarily for everyone, it's best if we go through distribution channels. So just ask. Farm stands love us. So go to a farm stand, ask them to carry us. I love farm stands. They're amazing people, and they love our upcycled products. So that's another
we got to get you to the Volante farm in Massachusetts. But Anita David is watching us on Facebook, and she says with several exclamation points, "I want a cracker." And we get another comment that said that everybody in Ohio loves chips and beer, and it's depressing there, so they need you. And let's see that last comment, Jonathan. We had one more just pop up. Somebody said they are the best. So you've got fans besides me already. And honestly, I am a fan for life. These are sensational. I love the idea. There are chefs all over the world, like Chef Kevin Fink at Emmer and Rye out of Austin, Texas, a James Beard nominee. There are chefs everywhere who are paying more attention to the sustainability of not having as much food waste as we have in our industry. We could talk on, and I'm gushing, so I'm not spending enough time focusing on your culinary history, but I just want to let you know how grateful I am that we had the chance to introduce this product to this audience and be part of the word of mouth to spread the word that something is really revolutionary. And it's rare to have something like this. So what a privilege it is to get to meet you and talk to you both. These are irresistible. And there's your quote.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Matt Fiasconaro and his brother Kyle, Chef Kyle Fiasconaro. the brothers and the geniuses behind this made in the USA, vegan, family-owned, irresistible Brewers baked pita chips in sea salt and rapidly disappearing rosemary. Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur or you are already in the business, Michael Politz has written a must-read, The Food and Beverage Magazine's Guide to Restaurant Success. Pick up your copy today at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, Books A Million, or wherever fine books are sold. Whether you are thinking about becoming a restaurateur